Good morning from Port St. Lucie. My name is Arthur Tefero, and I'm an expert on China. This is a master class on various subjects connected with China. And the first subject that we're going to look at today is the origins of the Chinese people. Basically speaking, the origins of the Chinese people are simply put into two basic categories: the people on the water and the people in the mountains. This hasn't changed for 10,000 years. People who live by the water still pretty much live the same way as people did 10,000 years ago, except they have modern accoutrements and conveniences. But the people in the mountains are pretty much in the same situation. They live like they did 10,000 years ago, except that they have some modern conveniences as well. When I give these lessons, I give them in a rather informal way. I don't use illustrations or videos or even the blackboard anymore. It's off the top of my head. Fortunately, my head is filled with a lot of stuff, and I'll be able to give you some insights that you may have not had before. In my head I have lots of things like fantasy baseball and everything the Yankees ever did, and the history of Donald Duck and comic books, and the how to collect baseball cards and sell them on eBay. But that's not what we're here for. We are here for the history of China. So let's continue. The people who lived in the mountains were called the Longshan. Longshan culture. This is the ancient mountain culture of China. So that when we refer to the Longshan, we are referring to people who have thousands of years of traditions in the mountains. These people were born, lived, and died for generations strictly in the mountain areas of China. So that they had very little intercourse or interaction with the people who lived on the coast or by China's major rivers, on the Yangtze or any other of the rivers of China. So these people were born and died for thousands of years in the mountains. Their culture and their economic structure was completely different from the people who lived on the water. They did not have a lot of fish. They did not eat by food that was provided for by rivers and streams. They may have had mountain streams, they may have had little mountain tributaries, but not to the extent that the people who lived on major rivers did. So these people became dependent on hunting. They became masters at hunting, and they became masters at creating weapons for hunting. And the people who lived on the river, these were the basic agriculturists of China. They learned how to cultivate the land with the water, and how to grow crops, and how to sustain themselves either with produce that they made from the crops that they grew, or from the fish that they got from the river. These two cultures developed pretty much at the same time, but they developed quite differently. And economically, the people who were on water developed faster economically than the people who developed in the mountains, the Longshan. The people who were on the water were called the Yangshao. The Yangshao civilization basically lived in mud huts and caves and things like that. They were also very primitive until they developed some accoutrements of civilization, such as building structures and living quarters and places like that, things like that. So you had the Longshan, the Yangshan on the water, and the Longshan in the mountains. Um, what did these two cultures do when they came into contact with each other? Well, when they came into contact with each other, generally speaking, the people from the mountains were usually victorious when it came to combat or little conflicts on the frontier. You had to give the edge to the Longshan. The people from the mountains usually were victorious over the people from the water because they had superior weapons. Superior technology always wins, or usually wins, and their technology was superior because they were hunters, and they hunted more than the people who lived on the water. People on the water are more domesticated. They, raised crops. They were farmers, and they did a lot of fishing. They were fishermen, and they're not really big on weapons. You don't really need a lot of weapons to catch a fish, and you don't need a lot of weapons to grow rice. So basically speaking, the people in the mountains were the more warlike part of China, in ancient China, or prehistorical China, as you prefer. And the people on the water were the more domesticated part of China. They were also the people who learned how to make money first. They were the people who were more likely to leave their areas on boats, because you could travel a lot further and faster on boats than you could by walking in the mountains. So we have the development of the coastal people into the first business people of China. And the people in the mountains were really not suited to business. They were suited to hunting and domestication of animals. That's pretty much how the ancient civilizations of China developed. And next time we will take it one step further, and we will move into historical ancient China. Until next time, this is Professor Tefero, wishing you a happy and healthy day, and everyone take care.